Capability means imagination. Your capacity or capability means imagination. Those words are not mine. Those words are from Napoleon Hill. And I want you to think what the hell that means. What the hell that means for you. Capacity or capability means imagination. Well, I don't know about you, but for me, that means that whatever you are destined to accomplish in life will be mediated or will be determined by your capacity of imagine, of creating, of elaborating universe inside your mind. So I want you to understand something. When you was growing up, people used to tell you that the most important thing for you to have success was to learn, to get educated, to read books, to pass the classes, to pass the academics. But do you think now that you are a grown up, now that you have maybe 17 years old, 20, 30, 40, 50, do you really think that that is the most important aspect to achieve in life, to win in life? Well, if you ask Albert Einstein, he will say that, of course, that is not the secret of genius, the secret of achievement. Albert Einstein will say that is imagination the ultimate treasure for manifesting your life purpose, your big goals, your greatest achievements. If you ask Nikola Tesla, famous inventor, engineer, he will say the same. If you ask Napoleon Hill, he will say the same. If you ask Dr. Carl Jung, famous psychiatrist and mystic, he will say that imagination it is the most important aspect not only for greatness and achievement but for psychological expansion and universalization. That means becoming one with the universe, becoming one with God, achieving the greatest potential possible that each human being can acquire in our lives. So if you speak with a person that is not well educated in the principles of mind, he will say, you should learn. And that is not wrong. Hey, you should learn. We were discussing that in our earlier episode in this mini series of Think and Grow Rich. You should get specialized knowledge. But that is not the most critical point. The most critical point is what you do with what you learn, aka what do you imagine? What do you imagine? That is the critical aspect. You know, so many people think that schizophrenics are, well, that is not the correct word. People with schizophrenia are like done, but that is not accurate. People with schizophrenia are people that is very creative. And we know that by research that showed that they can solve problems in very innovative ways. Their capacity to solve problems in very innovative ways are a direct correlation with their imagination. And history is full of people with such conditions of the schizophrenic spectrum that achieve great art masterpieces, great paintings, music, stories, books. And yeah, some of them will go and spend a lot of time in a psychiatrist hospital, and some of them will learn how to use their psychosis or extreme uncontrolled imagination for their benefit, and that will depend on each individual, how many resources they have internal to control their own emotion, and also with will depend with the therapist that they work with, the psychotropic they are on, and a lot of factors. But nevertheless, imagination is what gives people with the schizophrenia a competitive advantage. And that sounds weird, right? Because when we think about psychopathologies, conditions of the mind, we don't think about superpowers, we think about defects. But that is not actually right. That is only one part of the story. I am not saying that people that have psychopathologies do not have things that they should work on and improve and suffering. They do have those. And they have stigma, they suffer discrimination, they suffer stereotypes. Sure. But also they have superpowers. With depression come introspection. With anxiety come alertness. With schizophrenia comes high creativity. With obsession compulsion disorder comes structure. With um, trauma come a phenomenon that is called post-traumatic growth, in which after a trauma you can become a better integrated individual, which with each psychopathology also come an opportunity. And that was basically my whole dissertation. And I will be discussing in the future my findings in my dissertation related to this idea about the superpowers of psychopathologies. Or I don't call them psychopathologies anymore, but just for you to understand what I am referring, I call them singularity of mind or singular traits. But that is another subject. So capability means imagination, my friend. This episode is part of a mini series that is called Think and Grow Rich, in which we are discussing the most important principles that Napoleon Hill back in 1935 elaborated to achieve great things in life. And today we are going to discuss one, one of the most important ones of the whole list, your capacity to create universes in your mind that then you will recreate in the material world. So if you are asking yourself, hey, Derek, where are you at? Because this is not the typical or common background that you have whenever you're doing your podcast. Well, I'm here in Miami right now. I arrived today. I'm here in a hotel, and I will be spending here a couple of days working and elaborating some projects. Also, my wife will go to a conference, like a woman, empowered woman type of conference. So she probably will come back home and hit me in my face, and she will be dominant. And that was a bad joke. But anyways, I'm here. and enjoying the weather. It's awesome here. This is the second time in my life that I'm in Miami, and it's awesome. So, anyways, let's go uh, right into the subject of today. Open your notebook, but more important, open your heart and open your mind, because today you will know how to imagine in order to achieve greatness in your life. So, welcome to the episode 478 of the Mastermind Podcast Challenge Season 2. My name is Dr. Derek Israel, and as I already said, we are doing a mini series about the book Think and Grow Rich. So, let me give you an overview of each of the episodes for you to understand how the process of manifestations goes. All right. So everything starts with desire, and each of these concepts has his own episode. And if you are interested in studying each one of them, as I recommend, because this is a system. This is not something that is isolated. Yeah, it will work isolated, but it will have a synergistic component, a holistic component, if you listen to each one of the pieces. So everything starts with desire. You should desire something in your life, and this desire should be something that give you fire in your belly, that you cannot even sleep at night when you think about this great thing that you want to manifest. Most people, they don't have this great thing in their life. Most people are conformist. They are good in the same position year after year, with the same salary year after year, with the same status year after year, with the same creative project, if they have one, year after year. But that is not you. If you are listening to this podcast, if you are listening to this episode, probably you are a very weird person. And I know, because I'm weird also, and that's why I'm doing this episode. So let's go weird together. Let's be weird together, and let's build greatness together. So all start with desire. You need to desire something. That doesn't mean that you will get attached to that thing. That only means that you have impulse in your life, you have direction in your life. Once you know that, you need to cultivate faith, a strong conviction that you will be able to manifest that in your life. That we call faith. And I'm not talking about faith in God, faith in a specific religion. I'm just talking about the mental state of having certainty about your own steps in your life, about the steps that you are making or taking in order to manifest your desire in the material equivalent of that desire. After you cultivate faith, you need to understand the principle of autosuggestion. Autosuggestion. That is basically the brain watch that you conduct to yourself every day to continue pushing forward, although you will have setbacks. And you do that by visualization, affirmations, journalism, repetition, repetition, repetition of the thing that you want your subconscious mind to be programmed with. When we are talking about achieving greatness, we need to hack ourselves. Literally, we need to hack ourselves, because if not, suffering and the weight of existence will be too much, and we will not persist enough to manifest. I remember, when we are talking about manifestation in the material reality, we must persist because this is a very raw kind of dimension. So we cannot manifest here directly. We can manifest directly in the spiritual realm and in the imaginative realm, in your imagination. Yeah, you can there think and boom, there it is. So imagine a cow right now. Imagine a cow. Look, you saw the cow, but that cow is not here in the material reality. But that doesn't mean that you cannot go right now and buy a cow and then you will see the cow. But look, buying a cow have a lot of steps because that cow is in the material dimension. So you need to call the guy that have the cow and say, dude, how much money for that cow? And the guy will say, I don't know, maybe $500. And you will say, no, no, what about 350? All those steps that comes whenever you bring your imagination to social and material realms will have a slow process, will have a delay in the manifestation of the thing, because reality, material reality, have a delay, but your imagination do not have a delay. Your spirit do not have a delay. We call that direct manifestation. And that is basically the principle of the law of attraction. You manifest here, and then slowly, by principles of cause and effect, but chains of cause and effect, the material world is manipulated in order to manifest. So after you conduct autosuggestion, the next step is specialized knowledge. And that means that you continuously learn specific things that you need to understand and dominate in order to achieve. And if you don't want to learn those because maybe you are focusing only in certain areas, certain strengths, and you don't want to divide a lot your forces, and that is a valid attitude, that is a valid strategy, well, then the other alternative is that you need to build a team surrounding you that have that specific knowledge that you need to continue having prosperity, wealth, achievement, success, happiness, peace in your life. So those are the four episodes that we already have discussed in this mini series. We are missing 6 more, total of 10, and today we are going to be discussing imagination. So if you are just listening to this in Spotify, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, or any of the platforms that this is just audio, I'm telling you, please go to YouTube and watch it on YouTube, because I'm going to be posting below the screen some quotes directly from Napoleon Hill's mind. And if you want to benefit not only from the information that I'm giving to you, but also from the original source, just watch this episode on YouTube and you will be able to see the direct quotes. But that is a decision that you have to make. How much do you want to gain of this podcast will depend on how much do you invest. That is a law of life. You get what you invest. You get what you deserve. So let's go right into the subject of today. What is imagination? And dude, let me say something before going directly to the subject. This particular podcast gave me a lot of struggle to design the structure of it, because I already have 2 episodes in my podcast, in this mastermind podcast, that are about the subject of imagination. Yeah, they are on Spanish language. This is the first one that I am discussing it in English. But anyways, a lot of my students that are Spanish speaking are also watching these episodes on English. So I was thinking about what I can say what some new ideas can I bring to this episode that is not repetitive of the other ones that I already have. For example, I have one episode that is called, in Spanish, Imaginación Divina, Divine Imagination. And I have another episode that was pretty recent that is called El Laboratorio de tu Mente, the laboratory of your mind. And in those two episodes, I discussed different aspects of the tool of your imagination to achieve greatness in life. But today, I guarantee that if you already listen to those, I guarantee that this information will be 85% new and it will not be repetitive. Okay? So now let's go right into it. What is imagination? Well, if we go to the concrete definition, you will find something like imagination is images on action, the dynamism of the mind, the way or the strategy that the mind use to create things in life. That is basically imagination. So imagination is composed of images, thoughts, fantasies, dreams, visions, the past, the present, the future, attitudes, emotions, all of those. You may say also, and we can go further. We can say also it is composed of vibration, frequencies, spirits, souls, intelligence, love. Look how profound you can go. Archetypes, and you can go more profoundly than that. You can go as far as gods, goddess, titans. You can go as far as you want with imagination. You can go as far as, for example, I will be doing in the future an episode about how God is directly correlated with imagination. That will be another episode about imagination, but that will have a more theological principle on it. And that is not my idea, by the way. 90% of these ideas are not mine. I am not that intelligent. You know, this is a Carl Jung idea, Dr. Carl Jung. So Dr. Carl Jung explains very well how God can only be understood and known by your own imagination. But that is for another day. So subscribe to the channel if you are liking the content and if you haven't already. So that is the most concrete Wikipedia-like definition. But I will give you a more singular definition, a definition that is more particular, that is more edgy, like in the edge, that is more, I will say, profound, for you to understand what is really imagination. So open your heart right now, open your mind right now, because this will change your life. This idea will change your life. Imagination is your universe in construction. Imagination, what really is your universe in construction. Every time that you are imagining, you are not just only playing with your mind. That is a very reductionist point of view around imagination. What is really happening is that you are building the infrastructure of your whole universe. Because mind and universe are interconnected in very mysterious ways. I think that no one has ever explained perfectly how this is the case. But we try. That's why we invent religion, philosophies, paradigms, cults, books, psychology, physics, quantum physics. We do it because we want to understand the mystery of this thing that we call universe by using this other mysterious thing that we call mind. But what most people do not understand is that they are the same thing. Is the mind studying the mind, or the universe studying the universe, you know? So every time that you are working on your imagination, you also are influencing how the universe will elaborate itself in your synchronicity or in your biography or in your life. So do not take imagination as a game or as a silly thing to do. This is how you construct your reality. What do you imagine enough, you manifest definitely. Definitely. What you imagine enough, you manifest definitely. But that goes to both poles. That can go backwards, and you can imagine dark, negative, catastrophic things. And guess what? You will have a very miserable life. But you can imagine constructive, progressive, positive things, and you eventually will be building a positive, amazing, miraculous life. And remember, it will not be instant. It have a process of delay. And one of the most fascinating ideas that I learned studying Kabbalism or Kabbalah is that in Kabbalah they have this term that they call your competitor or your adversary. That is basically referring to the dark force of existence that has been represented by Seth in Egypt, Satan in Christian philosophy, as Mara in Buddhism, as Shaitan in Islam. You know, that dark aspect of existence, that evil part of existence. And in Kabbalah, they say that your adversary will always bring you um, the negative consequences right away, but will delay the good consequences of your imagination for a long time. So by delaying your good consequences for a long time, the adversary is basically confusing you, and you will think, dude, I am practicing law of attraction, I am imagining positive, I am doing the right thing, I am doing the right action, and even then I do not manifest. What is going on? And that is a play, that is a tool of your adversary, that is basically stretching time between your positive action and your positive reward in order to you to quit, in order to for you to renounce, to drop out of your continuously effort to manifest a great life. But then the adversary in this philosophy of the Kabbalah, whenever you do a bad action or a bad thought, immediately give you a negative consequence. So then you said, look, if I do a bad thing, I immediately have a consequence. But if I do a good thing, I never have the consequence. I never get my reward. So what is the point of continuing doing the best thing. I just will do whatever. And if I have a good thing or a bad thing, who cares? Because life is so unjust. So if you are thinking like that, you are already losing the war with your enemy. That is basically yourself, the dark aspect of yourself, the aspect of yourself that will sabotage. And obviously, in Kabbalah, because they are more mystic, they use time as a tool that the adversary use to manipulate you, for you to become desperate, for you to lose faith, you see. So just go and study Kabbalah and study how the adversary or your opponent works against you, and that will be nourishment for your heart. You will become more persistent after knowing these principles. I'm kind of worried that maybe my laptop will get very hot because of the sun here. Okay, so the sun went away. All right, so let's go. Um, so imagination is the constant creation of your universe. All right, very important. Give me just a moment. I'm trying to be organized here in what I'm gonna be saying next. All right. So another very important aspect of imagination is that it is the channel in which your definite plans will manifest themselves in order to materialize your desire. So you have your desire and you want a result. And between those, you need action. But what action? It cannot be any random action. It must be strategic, it must be specific, it must be effective action in order to work. Well, your imagination, that is the tool that will give you the practical plans on how you will manifest your desire. And your imagination can give you these plans in a fantasy, in a vision, in a thought, in a dream, in whatever aspect your imagination wants to deliver. But that is basically one of the most important aspects of your imagination, that it will give you the plans. And in my next episode of this series, we are going to be discussing strategic planning. All right. So we are going to be discussing how exactly to become more organized. Bless for me. Sorry, guys. I will be discussing in my next episode how to become more organized once you have those plans. But where those plans come from? Derek Israel will not give you those plans. Your mentor will not give you those plans. No one will. Those plans comes from your imagination. This is the treasure. This is the inventiveness happening in the present moment. This is the genius that you have inside. Respect the genius that you are. Respect your intelligence, dude. Your imagination is salvation. So Napoleon Hill discussed two types of imagination that are very important for you to understand conceptually and practically in your life. The first type of imagination that he discussed is synthetic imagination, and the second one is creative imagination. And both have importance and their time and their place to be executed by you. Synthetic imagination is the imagination that basically unite things that already exist. It doesn't create anything new. It's just more like a combination. It is more like a faculty of your mind that is constantly looking for associations in order to configure new patterns of being, creating, and existing and functioning in life. That is synthetic imagination. And that is the imagination that you are conducting most of your time because it requires less energy. It is more efficient, it's more cost effective. You don't have to use all your resources to do that. For example, when you are in your work and you are doing the everyday tasks and you are working with your imagination for being successful on those tasks, but basically what you are doing is that you are going to the manual, you are asking for advice, and you are reading how that was done before, and then you finally have like an idea of how to do it, and you create it, kind of, right? You like build it. That is synthetic. You merge different things and then you execute, and that's good, and you use your imagination, and you may have success with that, but that is not the most divine aspect of your imagination, not at all, although that will be the faculty of your imagination that you will use most of the time. But the other one, the creative imagination, it is the one that we can call originality. It is that idea that came from the depth of hell. And what I mean by hell, I mean the universe, the unconsciousness, the infinite intelligence, something that was so over the top that changed the world, at least change your life. And by changing your life, you change the world. And by changing the world, you change the universe. For example, the first guy that imagined the mastery of fire, that was a creative imagination. The first guy that imagined that you can basically cultivate food, plants in a certain area, agriculture, and how to do that, that was a very creative imagination. The guy that invented, or the team that invented the internet, the blockchain technology, that was a very creative imagination. And notice, creative imagination also have a little bit of synthetic, because I'm pretty sure that the guy that invented how to dominate fire or have mastery over fire, he already saw fire. Maybe he saw a tree getting on fire, or he saw something, and he then thought, how the hell I can do that in a controlled environment. So in that way, yeah, it was kind of synthetic, but the process of inventing the friction of how you can literally create fire, and the process of inventing how you can manage the fire for the fire not get out of control, and all of those mechanisms, that demands originality. In the example of the internet, yeah, I know that the person that came from for the idea of the internet, he already knew about the telephone and about signals, and he kind of synthesize those. But at the end of the day, telephone and internet are so different things that I can consider that invention creative instead of synthetic. So yeah, every creative imagination will have a little bit of synthetic aspect, and every synthetic aspect of imagination will have a little bit of creativity. But it is how much of how much percent do you have in your inventions, what is really all about. So yeah, you should be synthesizing most of your day, but for some problems of your life, for some important problems of your life, you should be creating solutions, not synthesizing. For example, if you are developing your own business and you want that business to be sustainable long term and with a good impact in the world, being a synthesizer, it will not do the work. It will not do the trick. You need to become creative. All right. So let's move on because my laptop is getting hotter and hotter and it can restart at every moment, and I don't want to lose this podcast. So I made the mistake to record this in the sun. Bad mistake, huh? All right, so let's go. We don't have too much to go. So let's give you what I consider to be the most important skill to develop in order to capitalize your imagination. If you master this, you will be a creative imaginator, more potent than you was before. And it's this one. It's only one word. One word, one skill, one habit, one virtue, one value. Only one. And it's that you need to trust. You need to trust. And you may ask, trust what? You need to trust your imagination. Most people, they do imagine good things. Most people are creative. In nature, creativity is infinite. We are creative beings. It is impossible to not create. I'm creating right now ideas, words, phrases, sentences, images in my mind. You are creating your own thoughts, your own interpretations. You are creating right now. We are creative beings. Being creative is not the problem. The problem is that most people do not trust their own creativity. They do not trust their own imagination. They think that an authoritative figure has their answers, but not their imagination, not their own faculty. And that is a very sad thing. Because if you believe in your own imagination, you will be more assertive in how you conduct that imagination in strategic planning, and that strategic planning into certain habits, routines, and actions that will give you the results that you're looking in your life. All start with trust. You need to trust whatever you imagine. And sometimes your imagination will go to crazy places that is normal to not trust those, right? Because they are so crazy. They are so over the top, over the wall. But dude, do you think that the guy that invented, if it was a guy, we don't know, blockchain technology, do you think that that guy was not over the wall? He was over the wall, but he trusts his imagination. Do you think that the guy that invented virtual real estate, buying digital and virtual land, he was not over the wall? He is probably, but hey, that is the future. we all gonna be living in the metaverse very soon, and we all will be renting or buying spaces in the metaverse like we do in physical spaces. And that came from where? Imagination. But those guys, the difference between those guys and you is that they believe it. They trust their own gut and they act. So I want you to think right now with me. How much do you trust your own imagination? How much? Whenever your imagination gives you a plan, a vision, a course of action, how much you trust that? Do you trust that or do you need to Google it? Do you trust that or you need to go to Derek Israel videos to confirm, to approve, to discard, or to Toby Robbins videos or to whatever authority figure that you follow? If you want to grow, if you want to become with you, if you want to become more authentic and with more integrity as a human being, more alienated, I don't know if that is the right word, more linear, more vertical, you need to trust your imagination. If you're going to take one idea from this whole podcast, take this one. Trust what you imagine. Trust your ideas, especially those that are crazy. I'm not interested in average ideas anymore. Why I will be? They are average. I am interested in crazy ideas. And when we are talking about imagination, remember, imagination, it is not only something that you produce, it is also something that you attract. So think about thoughts as vibration that is flowing in the ether. And we know that the ether is a concept that was misproved or counseled by science a long time ago, but it is coming back. It is coming back as dark energy, dark matter, some other construct that scientists needs to elaborate in order to put their paradigms together, because we always have a mysterious element or substance in reality that we need in order to explain other things. That mysterious substance, we also can call it God or God particle, is another way that people are referring to it. So those crazy ideas that sometimes comes to your mind, they are also arriving into other brains. You are not the only one that is imagining what you are imagining. Yeah, you will be imagining in an individual way because you have your own personality, your own attitudes, your own IQ, and IQ will mediate, I don't know how much, but will mediate a little bit your imagination. You have your own emotional structure, and also that will colorize your imagination. And you have your own culture, your own language, your own education. You have a lot of things that the idea that is collective will be filtered by your individuality and will arrive like with a little bit of singularity, a little bit of specialty because it's in your head, but the idea or the archetype of the idea, the pattern, the configuration, the metaphysical essence of the idea will also be deposited in other brains that will have a very similar imagination than yours. And if they act on it because they trust it, shame on you, dude. Shame on you. Why you didn't trust it? Have never happened to you before that you have this idea about maybe a business or a creative project, and then 2 weeks after you saw someone that did it exactly the same or almost exactly the same, and you are like, what the heck? Damn. Why I didn't do it first? I already knew it. I already have the idea. Well, that is because ideas are not yours. Ideas are vibration. And a lot of people are having the same ideas at the same time. The one that separates the dudes or the people that didn't, that didn't make anything versus the ones that actually actualized the idea, implemented the idea, the variable that distinct one and the other is how much you trust your imagination. You didn't trust it enough, or maybe you trusted but you was procrastinating, moving slowly. Remember, when you are moving slowly, what that means is that you haven't decided definitely, because when you decide definitely, you move fast. If you are moving slowly, procrastinating here and there, that means that you are with indecisiveness still. So we are gonna be discussing that uh, in a following episode that will be called decision. So velocity and the determination of carry out of your plans, it is mediated of how decided you are to manifest that. I will give you an example of my own life. Right now, I am developing and I'm almost launching my first NFT project. It will be a collaboration with my wife. She's a worldwide quality artist, and we are gonna be both doing a very artistic and spiritual kind of NFT projects that I think is very innovative and very different in relation to the other things that are in the blockchain space right now. And I'm pretty sure, and the reason that I am almost paranoid with this idea is because I'm pretty sure, I am convinced, and maybe I'm just paranoid here, but I am convinced that someone else have the same idea. I don't know why I have that idea, but well, I know why, because I am telling you why. Because ideas are not our own. Ideas are vibration. So I think that the race will be who is gonna do it first. So that's why I'm pushing to launch this project like tomorrow. So we are like, this is a difficult process because it's a new technology, something that I am not familiar with. It's the same time, it's the first time that I'm working with blockchain technology. So it's a learning curve that I am uh, working on very, very, very intensively right now. And that's why I'm not so active in social media, but I'm pretty sure that I need to launch that pretty soon because someone else will do it. And that is also another idea that I will be discussing in the podcast further on, that is called the enemy. The enemy. That is basically an exercise that you do every day, that you create an enemy in your mind that is basically waiting for the perfect moment to encounter with you, and you and him or you and her will go to war together. And that is a very weird, complex idea that I cannot explain here. Is one idea of this guy that is called Jocko Willings. He's an ex-Navy SEAL, author, and podcaster. He's an amazing, he's kind of a genius guy. And I will explain that idea with details in in a following episode. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of paranoia, uh, collective imagination, and an exercise that I do to motivate myself that I call the enemy. The enemy. It's not the same idea of the opponent or adversary that I was telling you about around Kabbalah, the philosophy of Kabbalah. It's not the same idea. It's a similar idea, but it's not the same. So, anyways, trust, my friend, your imagination. It is the most important skill that you need to develop in order to bring forward your creative project. So let's finalize this podcast with this. Let's call this the tip of the day. The tip of the day. And it's this one. Practice imagination workouts daily. Practice imagination workouts daily. What that means? Well, it's very important to practice um, bodily workout daily, right? You know that you should do that. You know that at least you should walk, run a little bit, do a little bit of cardio, maybe some push ups, have a good nutrition. We all know that it's a very good thing to do workouts for our body. But what we do not know is that it's equally important to do workouts for our imagination, because our imagination is like a muscle that can be trained, elaborated, sophisticated, and stretched into parameters that will create like no one else. So Albert Einstein used to say that there is a moment in which reading, it becomes dull. It becomes like soft. It becomes like weak, sterile, not good. Because reading is basically you are passively receiving information, but you are not elaborating nothing. In contrast, when you are imagining, you are building, you are constructing universes that then will manifest in the external world. And remember, for this to make sense for you and for this to not be discarded in your mind as something, as wishful thinking or something like magic or something like blah blah blah. That is Derek Israel with his esoteric thinking. What type of drug Derek Israel did? Blah 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 blah. Before your uh, brain goes that way, remember, you need to understand the principles of the infrastructure of reality in order to be able to apply this. And the infrastructure of reality, this principle, and this is also a paradigm. It is not like the absolute truth, but it is a good conceptual framework to navigate your reality. It is that your mind creates your reality, because reality is mind, is made of mind substance, of spiritual substance. So if you think that everything in the world is made of matter and that your mind is made of mind, it will not make sense. Anything that I am, nothing that I'm saying will make sense here. But if you think and you believe and you explore and you discover and you actualize this truth that reality is mind substance and your mind is mind substance, then you understand that alike attracts alike, alike builds alike, similar transforms similar. Then you will understand that by imagining, by doing your constant workouts, by elaborating different elements in your mind of how the future can be, that is called futuring. Look that in Google. Soon enough, I will be doing an episode about how to future, how to configure futures, potential futures, in order to proceed with different operations that can manifest those futures in the real world. Well, by doing that, you will manifest those type of universes. But you need to first comprehend and actualize the truth that reality and mind are the same. It is a perfect marriage. It is a divine union. All right. I think it was a good rant today. Um, I went a little bit fast because I'm pretty concerned with my laptop. So I like put the turbo on it. So I encourage you to go to my reproduction list in my YouTube channel, Derek Israel. Please subscribe. And in my reproduction list, you can watch. It is called Think and Grow Rich. And there you can basically watch each one of the episodes if you are enjoying and learning a lot with this discussion. Also, I encourage you to share this episode with a friend, or maybe just share it in your social media, maybe in a story of Instagram, maybe in your Facebook, maybe in your TikTok, or maybe do something, maybe in your Twitter. Just try to do something to expand this message. That is the way that you really are helping me to reach more people and to impact more life. And also, do not forget to go to derekisrael.com. I'm looking for the banner here, but I don't know where it is. Here. derekisrael.com. Visit derekisrael.com for you to assess if the solutions that I have for you will be beneficial for you. I'm pretty sure that they will, but at the end of the day, you will make your decisions. If you think that this free content is transformative, wait until you work with me personally, maybe in a coaching session that you can book in my website, maybe in a course of, I don't know, maybe self-love, or maybe meditation, or maybe I don't know, life purpose is another course that I have. Please make sure that the thing that you will buy, if it is not a service, if it is a product, make sure that is on English available, because not everything right now is on English available, although I will be transforming all my products to have a version on English as well. But I don't want you to buy something and then realize it's in Spanish. And if you don't understand Spanish, oh boy, oh boy. So make sure that is on English, and go to derekisrael.com, and I see you there. See you in the next episode tomorrow.